Hello, hello, folks. Welcome back to Holding Space. Melinda Zapone. I'm really excited, if you're watching on video, to be coming from this veiled location. I'm developing a better work-life balance so I can deliver the You Are Not Broken University concept to all of you and manifest it into being. And so hence this new veiled location that we have. And I'm really excited to be giving this to you on Substack, Spotify, YouTube, and right now for relatively for free until we really build this feeling of love and that we're all here because everyone does really need you always to do your inner work. So let's just jump right in, guys. I'm Melinda Zapone. Once again, this is Holding Space, and we're talking about looking for love. Well, facing brokenness is your invitation, and I'm going to give you some lessons on yoga love. The Toolbox Approach that I've registered trademarked is an organized healing process that guides and invites lifelong methods of repairing self-fragmentation. Love-seeking becomes an inward stretch that heals in a way akin to yoga. At least that's what we're talking about in this post. And you know, I'm a healer, therapist, author, and creator of the phases of healing in the Toolbox Approach. But most importantly, I am someone who has cracked the ceiling of the box I was inside, hiding in a life that acted like a Google search engine. How do I stop feeling so bad? And following the spit out answers. This is a negativity bias way of living, assuming things are bad, requires answers, fixes, solutions, and definitely very little softness if you would like to survive. I'm someone who's finally recognized that brokenness is a combination of fragmented narratives that suggest wrongness, either in you, others, or about the past, and how you have to be now. And in the way this kind of mindset forms a brain and nervous system experience that leaves us surviving a wrong life. Most importantly, I am someone with a vision now, and this may be the most authentic post you've seen so far. Why? I've stretched inward toward the pain, and it showed me the Toolbox Approach and the phases of healing, and I just know now that being authentic about what I've learned is the only way. For years, I did yoga like a machine, hoping it formed a vigilant, spiritualized exercise somehow magically, as I focused on how the harder poses made my smallness less obvious and angular, as the routine of it all contained something rather than released and restored it. You will learn today how I fought my yoga love early on, how my healing was brain-based, mindset shift, cellular, muscular, and still stretches inward even today and continues. I want to just take a pause. If you're not watching on the video, it may enhance your experience when we get to the yoga love flare portion. Now, our last post spoke about the mind and the brain being separate, possibly acting to darken pathways due to overuse of fear and anger-based reactions that stay dysregulated when there is no one there or we don't know how to communicate the need for help. Sometimes we do ask for help in a language that is too mature for the caregivers around us to interpret. Even though our age would not suggest maturity, there is an ancient wisdom in all cries for help. Like hieroglyphics on a pyramid wall, they will always tell a story for those willing to interpret them. However, it is very human for us to lose the will to call out for help. Repression of our memories, suppression of our feelings, and dissociation from our bodies darkens pathways and changes core self from curious about all the things that can potentially shape it to a fragmented one where parts of us fend for their own order. Some parts like to manage and control, some like to hide and exile experience and emotion, others impulsively protect without a plan or method of action. Nothing aims for integration, it's every part for itself. This is the brokenness. This is also your invitation to heal your life. When we say brokenness is a sense of a wrong life, we do not mean wrong in the sense of bad, but as in shaped poorly to who you are meant to be. So you are here and you can take this as your invitation. You are not broken. But a key phase in healing with the Toolbox Approach is the relational healing phase. The link to the book, which I've included in the notes, introduces the narrative healing phase, which has many, many relevant tools for inviting yourself to this phase of healing. Many of the phases require tools to face yourself. Talking can only get you so far before you've dumped and analyzed and may know your problems, but not understand how to shape a healing journey. I talk to a lot of people approaching or over 70. Sometimes they hold space in therapy. Many of them are just out there knowing how to reflect and hold conversations they need somehow. They will tell you their phases were painfully ignorant ones, but that they make sense now. Still, they may also hold an awareness of who got hurt, the part of them that woundedly clung to addictions, accomplishment seeking, or failed to face things, and the losses they might reverse and lose differently with more of the toolbox approach to life beside them. They give me a wink that says, I know, do this, it makes sense, share this. So I am so grateful to those people. And let's dig in. So once again, this is the warehouse of the upcoming You Are Not Broken University, which will be a place to accept your invitation to inner work, develop your own healing assessment and the phases of healing you need to highlight and explore, courses, therapy intensive, group calls, and one-on-one support. It may take some time before it's ready. I want to do this right in the sense that it holds space for many types of healing journey, and it combines my clinical duty to do no harm and my lifted and healing spirit that knows the traumatic growth we all deserve. You know, my grandfather's term came to me on my yoga mat regarding this: slow and steady wins the race. I recalled my closest moment with him was also somewhat of a yoga stretch. From being beside him on a bench, my feet unable to touch the ground, to lying beside him on his hospital bed, also without any sense of ground beneath me. And no, Grandpa, I say now, it's not a race. It's my destiny and combines the truth of others' destinies. And I have to take my time and respect the process. So I am out there now promoting in-person connections to our community so we grow authentically and hold space here inside Substack and on Spotify and YouTube only. I'm in treatment facilities where individuals are going to start something and graduate and need our community to help them continue. I am in restorative and healing-based yoga classes where individuals stretch inward towards the pain and need the toolbox approach to support their other classroom healing journey too. I'm in live meetups, workshops, and therapy sessions. I am here and we are here inside the Holding Space subscription. This is ancient healing restored to the modern age. We are a village and pass the word on to other villages. We carry our resources to the river, and the river flows to every mouth that seeks it. We have no animosity with real healers, reals healers, but the space for healing with the toolbox approach cannot be associated with anything instant, or it would be misleading and inauthentic. And I know I would feel like an imposter, and my authenticity would be draining from my purpose with all of you. We are holding space. We are inspired by the concept everyone needs you always, or Enya, to do your inner work, and you need you to face organized healing and keep these tools in your lifelong journey. Hold space for yourself. You can learn, listen, follow, watch, and attract your right life rather than repel it. You can take your invitation. You are not broken. Let's go. So I'm going to start with you're negatively biased. I hate to break it to you. To look for real love, whether you are partnered or not, is an inward stretch towards the pain points. And we will get to my yoga love process that is a component of the relational healing phase of the toolbox approach. First things first, however, you may have to confront the negativity bias form of protection. Don't worry, it's not a flaw. It's a misguided survival response. For some of us, having a negativity bias is a trauma response that is creating non-healing. For all of us, it is outdated and overused. And in the relational healing phase, the tool for facing this is your own awareness of when it is occurring for you. In the book, You Are Not Broken, Break Free from a Fixing Yourself Mindset with the Toolbox Approach, which talks about a narrative healing phase preparation called Healing Your Heart, or HYH. This acronym sounds like high, when you say it out loud, and that's intentional. We need to move higher up in ourselves, look down on our narrative with special tools to see our self-fragmentation. HYH looks at the degree of closed-heartedness you have, and negativity bias has a lot to do with that. So let me explain it a little bit. Negativity bias is our tendency to focus on the negative or to pay more attention to negative events, information, and emotions than to positive or neutral ones. It means, as I mentioned above, we are, you know what, I'm going to fix a typo here, right? It means, as I mentioned above, that we are like Google search engines on our brains. Our brains are, kind of under the influence of the negativity bias, and we go into Google searching that. We do that in life, and we literally do it. We are looking for "you are so broken," for example, to be confirmed, and we find this in the problems we label ourselves with: anxious, depressed, avoidant attachment style, OCD, etc. This creates a fix-it mindset. That is why I like so much to return to the term therapy at its root. The word therapy is deeply connected to healing, care, and the process of recovery. Whether referring to medical treatments, psychological counseling, or holistic wellness practices, therapy carries a sense of restoration and support. It's not until the 19th century that therapy became widely used in the English language to describe various methods of treatment, particularly in medicine and psychology. This has affected all of us deeply and drawn us away from a healing mindset. Inside treatment, that means we have been at risk for cutting out the healing journey entirely and opted for how to get rid of a traumatic memory, stop the addiction in 28-day detox, or even promote approaches that have acronyms or can be quicker. As individuals, we feel negative if it takes longer to heal, but that is because we focus on a fix, solution, and the moved on life in whatever picture frame that seems to be, depending on your cultural influences. The cynicism can feel like safety, and hyper independence is our ultimate protection. For me, I sought to be something: a therapist, a guide who needed very little but could give endlessly would be my solution, or part of it. It was subconscious to me, and so was my closed-heartedness. The yoga love journey post today is how I explain part of the higher self emerging and protecting me and showing me the only source of love is you. You are the love you need. When that is restored, you will find love to add to that. I'm still a work in progress, but sharing is part of that love journey as well. So why it exists. Negativity bias is thought to be an evolutionary adaptation. In the past, focusing on potential threats was crucial for survival, helping early humans avoid dangers like predators or hazards. However, this mechanism, while once beneficial, could now contribute to dwelling on mistakes and failures, potentially affecting mental well-being. Our negativity bias impacts us in various aspects of life, including mood and emotions, making people more susceptible to negative feelings and rumination; relationships, leading to dwelling on arguments and expecting the worst in others; decision making, causing people to give more weight to the negative aspects of a situation, potentially impacting choices; and perception, shaping first impressions where negative traits might be focused on more than positive ones. And we could even go deeper than that. In some cases, negativity bias can also be a trauma response, particularly in individuals with developmental trauma. And as a therapist of coming upon 20 years, my effectiveness in sessions and in my own healing journey bloomed when I started to trust my ability to intuitively go with finding the unique set of developmental traumas an individual was carrying. I found this was what drives our broken narratives, causing self-fragmentation and hidden storylines of negativity bias. One should be aware that complex post-traumatic stress disorder, CPTSD, and developmental trauma disorder, DTD, are not presently recognized as official diagnosis in the DSM-5. Yet many therapists and individuals, even social media, are waking up to the reality that we are all holding variations of it. That is where this post gets real, on the yoga love journey I experienced. Why yoga love? Well, addressing the negativity I had about receiving love and protection, belongingness and safety, emotional authenticity, and whole self acceptance became a long 2 decades worth of an attempt at stretching out from painful experiences. First, it was away from it in denial and avoidance, but remembering that gymnastics used to make the sexual intrusions, violations, and manipulated consent more sustainable. I could go back home and play my role when my after school gymnastics was in my life for a brief time. In my 20s, it was a form of exercise that was allowed by a divided self that both wanted to shrink and also wanted to remain whole and spiritually aligned. Then I learned somatic healing, and it helped me say hello to 2 children inside of me. You will see them now as I display stretching inward in supported child's pose and my yoga love journey. And I want to make a trigger warning here. This is intense and mention some details of childhood sexual intrusion experiences that those that share this history as a child or adult may need to make sure you are supported by a therapist to continue. No graphic details or acts are included. However, please hold space for yourself. I'm going to include pictures of these 2 inner children that I made contact with in the Substack version of this post today. So it's only on Holding Space, Melinda's opponent Substack. But let's get on to yoga love. Now, in restorative yoga, we prepare to arrive on our mats. This preparation is really the duration of the class as we become more and more attuned to what is needed to explore what various poses can open up inside our bodies. It also means prepare for the other story of what is happening. That may mean the stress of the stress of the week or month or deeper back. The body has a different sense of time. I began to love the way my restorative yoga class was introducing me to the use of the bolster, a large rectangular pillow with more stiffness to it than the average one. I'm just hoping my headphones did not go out right now. If they just said goodbye on me. This pillow, okay, there we go. This pillow, when placed alongside the body at various angles or when supported by blocks, softened my fix-it negativity bias and opened my practice to truly gentle stretching. I found it stretching me rather than this ego I being the one stretching. I let go. Decades returned to me, and I saw that despite a lot of trauma work using EMDR in myself and other practices, I had 2 other inner children acting as protectors. They were saying, or rather showing me, 2 different things, but each of them were no longer vulnerable storytellers. They were dove-like guards. The inner child work before told of so-called friends and then daycare stories and of the boundary violation I never consented to that broke a threshold I always knew was the real first time, stolen from me. That inner child work was so hard, seeing the false hope on her face that she belonged and her knowing the game would always be good for them but not for her. In this new work, I did not hear flashbacks to, that's a good girl, cooing from pseudo old world mother types if I took violations as care after neglect, and showed my big blue eyes again to bring them relief as they tickled in non-consensual places. I didn't have to remember the path this led me down or the mother I distanced from for placing me in these situations, begging me to help her, or the brother that never wanted me born and stored his darkness in my life and still hated me. I only saw my fallen angels protecting me. And there they are below in the Substack holding space. These 2 images, if you're not able to view them, showed up in my life again after I had been doing my yoga love journey. I will explore with you the simple exercise of opening to child's pose with a bolster and letting life happen as that healing takes course. What I know now is that when I was in my 20s and an accident had the childhood traumas from crib to 10 years old pushing up, I thought I had to run for more strength. I had a negativity bias that things must not happen to you, that things happen to you Things that happen to you mean you are responsible and you must get stronger and not have that happen. I made a subconscious choice to hide in helping, in false strength. These girls, when I was in my 20s, tried to bring me back to their weight and get me help, but I couldn't find the tools to stretch inward. I didn't want pain. I only wanted recovery. I restored my weight many times, but I was always childlike and small, and these two protectors kept trying to tell me I would always be small if I did not listen to them. One was protecting the little lighted spirit. In the picture, you'll see the gray jumpered fallen angel always leapt into her knowing, and there she is in the pumpkin patch, just knowing it would make her feel happy and that joy would spread somehow, even if she said the wrong things that were too direct and honest and told a different storyline. She is attuned and certain of the things she sees. The other image, the good girl, is attentive and kind, tucking in the darkness, keeping it clean and pleasant and well-dressed. Combined, they may have starved and kept back a woman in me from knowing things, but they did so until she was ready. They stunted growth until it was moving towards listening to the whole story, addressing what a moved on life really entails. Now, the yoga love practice. A yoga love practice starts with preparing to arrive. I use music and climb onto my mat for the arriving process. Two songs that I particularly enjoy are Grateful by Saint Finnegan and Faith's Hymn by Beautiful Chorus. Those are both linked in the show notes on Spotify, on YouTube, and in Holding Space. Sitting in a loose legs folded position, I use my left hand to pull up the back of my thigh and then release it so that there's more contact with my yoga mat. So I do that on the other side, on the right side, to make more contact with sitting and deter any thinking with gentle movement rather than allowing any mentalizing to come up. Then I gently breathe inward from that seated position. As if I'm pouring water into a glass, the seed of me gets filled first with breath. And when I'm at the top, I slowly release my breath and I ask myself, why did I come here today? What's calling me? Then I say my own name, Melinda, and I whisper, what do you need? I notice if I'm quiet, louder, or somewhere in between with this spoken portion of the exercise. And I'll show you an example. There's a picture of someone below with in supported child's pose with 2 blocks and a bolster. But then I open my folded legs and move myself down onto the mat, vertebrae by vertebrae, until I'm flat. Here, I just pull up on one leg, bringing my knee to my chest, and then the other. I explore how my hips feel, bringing both knees up and rotating them in one direction, then the other. Then I get my purple starred bolster. Now I use a softer one. You can search on Amazon for one that's right for you. I've included the link to mine here. I either position it propped up onto yoga blocks, or flat. Again, determine your preference. At this point, the child's pose is done over the bolster with your arms wrapped around it in a hugging position. You can rest a few times or a few minutes or seconds on each cheek, or you can rest just on the forehead on the bolster. This develops over time how you'd like to enter yoga love stretching inward. And that's why I include the picture in the show notes on Substack. And you will not see the picture on anywhere else but Substack. So please come follow us over there, subscribe. I do highly recommend journaling after this in the beginning. Over time, it's just for you, and you will feel yourself opening to yoga love, which is really you and your capacity to restore love. I am on this path. It is working. I release from the outcome of if it will mean finding a specific kind of love outside of myself. I just know that it's working. And parting remarks, that this is going to be a continual parting remarks section. We are on a journey here at Holding Space subscription. I invite you to take the materials and wait to feel the inner invitation to begin. The author's website is the most comprehensive source of all the materials for the coming You Are Not Broken University courses, therapy intensives, and more. Please leave me a review on Goodreads or Amazon. Lastly, a reminder that I've added a new feature to the Holding Space subscription, Holding Space Plus. This means that as a paid subscriber at $5.99 a month, you can direct message after a post and share what came up for you, as well as the feedback you would like. So there's 4 types of feedback: affirming feedback, guidance-based feedback, specific therapeutic plans to incorporate into your therapy, and lastly, validate the points that you feel you process through reading. It's up to you what type of feedback you would like. Just let me know in your message. An important note: this is not a therapeutic intervention and does not include the essential component of getting to know your personal story. So please consider this as one supportive piece of your healing journey, ideally alongside therapy if needed. It is not intended for crisis situations or unprocessed trauma. If you are seeking professional support, I include a link to finding a therapist. When you're ready, proceed past the paywall to Holding Space Plus. Get yourself selected 4 tiers of support options. And I'm so glad you're all here, no matter what your level. You're taking the invitation, and that matters so much to me. Heal on, everyone.